how you got into entrepreneurship. Like,
I was working for another company where I met a friend of mine. He wanted to start his own company and he wanted me to leave the company to go run his company for him. I'm not going to leave a leadership position running a team to go work for somebody else. That doesn't make sense.
when you say that it was scary, like, why do you think it was scary for you at that time?
I became an absentee owner. So I was not involved in the business anymore. I was letting a general manager run it from Navy Federal Credit Union. I was facing $1 million lawsuit just myself. They were talking about taking my house.
$35,000 in the bank, 25 employees. I could just imagine the stress.
The problem wasn't my business. The problem was me.
Mm.
I was. Your team will outgrow you if you don't keep growing your belief in your leadership.
What are some of the next big projects or things that you have going on?
Getting my collection agency to double their revenue from last year. So last year we did 18.5 million. That means that my target is 37 million this year.
What's up, Perrote?
What's up, man? How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, and you?
Chilling. I just finished up recording. I did a free marketing workshop. I just recorded. It's a $5,000 workshop that Grant Cardone's company does. And as a business coach, I'm able to deliver the workshop. I could charge whatever I want. I'm giving it away for free, bro.
Oh, okay. So you did this workshop that you kind of copied from Cardone Venture?
I've done the workshop and I have all the content as a business coach. I'm able to teach the workshop to other people.
Oh, so
yeah,
you kind of recorded it on your own, and now you could sell it.
Yep.
Oh,
but I'm not selling it. I'm giving it away. I'm putting it on YouTube for free.
Wow.
Just to teach businesses how Grant Cardone does his marketing.
Right. So you do it on behalf of as like a 10X coach with a brand.
Yep. So I'm able to deliver the content. Like if you go to the workshop, you can't teach anybody because you're not a 10X business coach. But since I'm a 10X business coach, I could teach the marketing to other people. So I'm teaching it for free.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Cool.
The next one I'm gonna do is gonna be a sales workshop. And then after that, I'm gonna do a 10X business bootcamp. So I'm gonna teach people how to run a company.
What you got going on today?
I'm actually trying to recruit a closer that used to work for me a long time ago. And he went to start his own company. And he's making about $10,000 a month. But my top guys here are making about $20,000 a month. So I told him, why don't you just come back and work for me? He used to be a beast, bro.
Really?
I'm trying to recruit him, and he agreed to come in and talk to me at 3:30 to see my office. So nice. I'm gonna close him. I'm gonna have him start. Yep.
What do you call it? Is it gonna be for the debt collections or for debt collections, right?
Yeah, for collections, yeah.
I remember you used to have this big guy that was working with you in the real estate company, no? You probably met him at an event.
Was it my brother?
No, it wasn't your brother. It was this other Morenito. I remember he had the 24/7. I think I seen him on your social media or something.
Long hair?
Nah, he wasn't even long hair, but he was at the Crystal Shark event.
Oh, it might have been Ulises.
I think so.
Yeah. I've had a lot of people, bro, but in-house people never work for me. They're not disciplined, bro. Like I can't talk smack because I have a whole operation. Like if my door's right here, I'm in my office, this is my door. You look outside my door, I have like 40 collectors out here. So I'm not saying it doesn't work, but in real estate, it hasn't worked for me. It's just it's a different animal. You got to be carrying them, and they want deals easy. They don't want to work hard for the deals. It's just doesn't work for me, bro. We're at 150,000 right now in revenue for the month, and my overhead's like 30 G's. You know what I mean?
Right.
Marketing, commission, staff. I mean, it might even be lower than that. It might be like 20 grand. So it's all profit, bro.
Awesome, bro. I appreciate you jumping on. Got the Omar Lopez Show going on. So why don't you go ahead and, tell the viewers who you are, what you do. Who's Mike Martinez?
So Mike Martinez is a hardcore entrepreneur. I'm mostly known as owning a collection agency in California. We're considered one of the top agencies in the country. And I also do real estate. I also wholesale and flip houses. And I also own a data company, dataskip.io, where we provide real estate investors and people in the solar businesses. We provide them phone numbers to contact homeowners so that they can get deals. So that's who Mike Martinez is, and that's what I do.
Awesome, awesome. Mike, why don't you go ahead and I'm very curious about your story, like how you got into entrepreneurship. Like what was 12 years ago, I think you said?
Yeah, so I started my first agency in 2012. That was 12 years ago. One of the scariest things I've had to do in my life. I've worked at a collection agency when I was 21 years old in 2003. And I worked all the way from 2003, 2005. I worked all the way up until 2012 when I opened my first company, as I was a collector that whole time. So all those years I was a collector. And what happened with me is I was running a team in a collection agency, and we were pretty successful. But I was working for another company where I met a friend of mine, and he wanted to start his own company. So he got a loan for $50,000 from his dad, and he wanted me to leave the company to go run his company for him as like the general manager. And I basically told him, I'm not going to leave a leadership position running a team to go work for somebody else. That doesn't make sense. I'll partner with you. You put up the money, and I'll run the office. I'll run the operation, and I'll run the whole company for you. And he agreed to doing that. So the deal was that we had to pay his dad back $150,000 from the 50,000. We had to give him back 150,000 within a few years. Well, we ended up paying him back 150,000 within 10 months. So when we started the company, it was one of the scariest things that I had to do in my life, because I was already making between $10,000 and $12,000 a month. So that's pretty good money, right? For a
Right.
27. I
This
had
was
a
in
Lexus.
2012.
This was 2012. Yeah, I was about 20
2012.
at the time. Yep.
And at the time you had already worked at the other agency for, you said like 5 to 7 years, I think, right? You got started in 2005.
Yeah, well, I had been at different companies. At that agency that I was at, I had been there for about a year. I came from another office where I quickly built a team. I was always able to train and kind of oversee people. I think that's kind of like natural leadership, where I cared about people's success and I did whatever I could to help them. So I was always able to run small teams. I was always pretty successful at that.
Okay. And when you say that it was scary, like why do you think it was scary for you at that time?
Well, because I'm making $10,000 to $12,000 a month. I had a condo, I had a Lexus. We had a good lifestyle. Making $120,000 a year 13 years ago was a lot of money. I was starting to establish my life financially very well. So leaving that and going to start a business with a partner, not knowing what's going to happen, am I going to be able to make the money I was making or more money, or am I going to start making less money? Even my wife had a reservation. She says, I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't think you should do it. Well, I knew back then that if I didn't do it now, I would never do it. So that was the opportunity that I had to become a real entrepreneur.
Right, right. And then from there, is that you don't have that partnership no more with that guy, right? Like,
No, we parted ways after a few years. I was doing everything, and he was just, in his office playing PlayStation, and he was in charge of the bookkeeping. We started having IRS issues. He wasn't paying the taxes. So I just decided to start my own operation on my own. I had a little bit of money saved. I had about $20,000 saved at that time. So I decided to just gamble on myself and start my own company. And luckily too, my mom had a little bit of money saved. So she said,
wow.
if you need me to help you, I'll help you start your own company. So I brought my mom in as a minority partner, just in case I needed
No
capital.
kidding.
My credit wasn't the best back in those days. I was still trying to reestablish my credit. Remember, I had only been in business for 2 years. So I was still trying to reestablish my credit. So my mom, when you open a collection agency, you need to have a merchant account. Merchant account is a credit card processing.
Mm-hmm.
So they check your credit, especially for debt collections, which is a high risk business. They check your credit. They check if you own property. They check your assets. If you don't, they won't give you a merchant account with heavy processing. So I needed it to be able to process at least a couple $100,000 of revenue every month. So I needed my mom to co-sign. So I made
No
her my
way.
partner, and I split up from my first partner.
Wow. That's incredible. I didn't know that your mom had helped you out too.
Yeah.
Wow. And so then right now, how many team members do you have like under your belt for the debt collection?
So right now I have about 40 to 50 at my headquarters, including managers and everyone. It's probably about 50, something around there. And then I have about 100 in Egypt overseas.
Oh, no way. I thought it was actually the opposite way around.
No, no.
Got
Most
it.
of my employees are overseas. We have about 150 to 160 total employees in my debt collection organization. And then my real estate company has about we have about 20 to 25, and they're all overseas.
Right, right. So then your whole transition from leaving that partnership, it sounded like maybe that was in 2014. And then I think in 2019, I remember you said you had those challenges where you had a manager that was in place and things weren't going so well. What exactly was going on during that time? Because I think I remember you said that was a pretty scary time of your life also, right?
Oh yeah. So I was already established. I was making anywhere from 300 to 500,000 a year, which is pretty damn good in 2019. And what happened with me is that I became an absentee owner. So I was not involved in the business anymore. I was letting a general manager run it. And we got a lawsuit from Navy Federal Credit Union that one of my clients had bought some debt from them. So people owed money to Navy Federal Credit Union. They owed them money, and then my client bought the accounts and sent them to my office to collect it for them. And I don't know what happened with the transaction when they bought the accounts from the bank, but the bank ended up suing my client. And we had no fault. We had nothing to do with the lawsuit, but because we were the collection agency collecting for them, they brought us into the lawsuit. So it's nothing that we did wrong. It was just, we were just along for the ride. So during 2019, I was an absentee owner. I wasn't involved in the business. So when I got word of everything that happened, I was facing $1 million lawsuit just myself from Navy Federal Credit Union. And I wasn't a millionaire back then. I didn't have, a lot of money saved. I was making good money, but I wasn't a millionaire. I didn't have millions of dollars in the bank. So they were talking about taking my house, and it was pretty scary. So in 2020, um, you know, at the beginning of the year, they dismissed the lawsuit. They negotiated, my client and their attorneys negotiated with Navy Federal Credit Union to dismiss the case at Supreme Court, like at the highest court level. I don't know what they did. I don't know what they negotiated. I wasn't involved, but I was released of the lawsuit. And then right around that time, COVID hit. So at the end of 2019, I was already thinking about what I was going to do in 2020 because I thought I was going to lose my collection agency. So in 2020, I discovered at the beginning in January, I discovered wholesaling real estate. So I went to my first event in February, and I learned the basics, and I hired a mentor, Chris Shark. I hired him as my mentor, and him and his team taught me the basics of running a wholesale operation, like marketing, looking at your KPIs, looking at conversions, just very basic things that I never did in my other business. So during COVID, I started messing with text blasting as a marketing channel, but I used it for collections. So I started using text blasting to contact debtors that owed my company money. And during COVID, a lot of collection agencies were going out of business. They were shutting down their doors. I was making my phones blow up.
Really?
So my collectors, they looked at me like I just discovered fire. And I broke a record those months. I did $1 million in 1 month. I had never done that before.
And that was 2020.
Right during COVID, right in the middle of COVID.
Wow.
When,
Yeah, because I remember you mentioned a couple of times that that something in wholesaling was what helped you out in debt collections, but I never knew exactly what it was. I've heard you say a couple of times that you started working with Crystal Shark, but you're saying that it was like the SMS and you were doing the you weren't doing KPI tracking or basic stuff in your debt collections that you learned from the wholesaling operation that you were able to establish in this one.
yeah, so I started paying more attention to liquidations in my business. Liquidations is when you have a portfolio of debt and you have different portfolios. I started paying attention to which one performs better. So that's KPIs, key performance indicators. So I started looking at comparing different portfolios, and I would focus on the ones that were better performing, and I would start doing text blasting on those portfolios. And then that would make my phone ring, and it would be good quality customers because I knew they were quality because I was paying attention to the KPIs. And then we started establishing metrics. I started making every single caller make a certain amount of calls every day. So I established metrics. And then that just boosted my revenue. Everything combined at the same time, SMS blasting, looking at KPIs, and then setting metrics for the teams, it boosted my revenue. I started setting targets.
Got it. Got it. So, Mike, I think during that time, I'm sure it must have been really scary. Like, I've been through a couple of hard times, maybe not as hard as that. I feel like I'm in my early stages where maybe it's like the first 2 or 3 years of your stage. So at that time, was that like the hardest thing that you experienced in your business? Like other than maybe when you were first getting into business back in 2012?
Yeah, that was definitely those two were definitely the most scariest things that I've ever faced. Starting my first business with a partner and almost losing my business in 2019. And in 2020, I started doing a lot of self-development. I started reading a lot of books during COVID. I got addicted to learning. And I read all the great books. I read, Think and Grow Rich. I read The Richest Man in Babylon. I started reading all the books that every entrepreneur should read. And I started discovering that the problem wasn't my business, the problem was me. I was a problem because I stopped focusing on my business and growing it. And I learned this from Michelle Tucker, the author of 3 Feet from Gold, part of the Napoleon Hill series.
Okay.
She says this, if your business is not growing, it's dying. So I learned that. And I said, well, I have to always be focused on making my business grow or it will die. And then Brandon Dawson, my greatest mentor, Brandon Dawson has been my greatest mentor since I've had probably about 10 different coaches and mentors. Brandon Dawson has by far been the greatest and most impactful. And what I learned from him is why your business starts dying if it's not growing. There's 2 reasons for it. Number 1 is that your team will outgrow you if you don't keep growing your belief in your leadership lid. Number 1. So if you stop growing and your team members still growing, they can outgrow you and you lose your best people, and that hurts your business, right?
Right.
That's the first reason why you should always be growing your company. Never stop growing it. Number 2 reason is because inflation. If you made $1 million this year and then you make $1 million next year, $1 million is not $1 million anymore because of inflation. So you need to keep growing your revenue with inflation or you will die.
Right, right. And during those times, Mike, when in 2019, I'm curious, like what were some of the things that, because man, mentally, you must have just been going through it. Like, what was your mindset at that time to really just prevail and just like really stick through and have the support from Natalie and your family? Like, what were some of your routines at that time, or what was your mindset just in general?
Man, I'll be honest with you. My mindset at that time in 2020 was I don't have anything else to lose. If I lose my business, how much further can I fall? There is no lower point. So I have nothing to lose. So my mindset was, if I'm going to lose my house and I'm going to lose my business and I'm on my way down, I've already lost everything.
Okay.
What else do I have to lose? There's nowhere to go but up.
Right. Right. So at that point, I mean, you would just wake up every day and you said, I mean, I think you've expressed times where you had only like what, like $40,000 in the bank, something like that.
I had less than that. I had about $35,000 in the bank. I had about 25 employees. So that's pretty scary.
Wow. $35,000 in the bank, 25 employees. I could just imagine the stress, the burden, and you said, you know what, I have nothing to lose. I'm just gonna keep on going.
Yeah, I mean, I invested a small portion into text blasting. I put mentorships on credit cards. I went to the event on a credit card. My plan wasn't to save my agency. My plan was to get into real estate wholesaling and to just lose my collection agency. I was going to try to fight as far as to the last breath that I could, but I thought I was going to lose it. And I was already making plans on, I might have to sell my house to pull out my equity. With that money, we're going to have to move and rent an apartment. I'm going to start a wholesaling company. Like, that's what I was focused on. But I also told myself that I'm going to fight to the last breath to save my agency. So that's what I did. And I just so happened to stumble on some information from the real estate wholesaling side that I was able to apply to my collection business that actually saved it because it turned everything around for me.
Right, right. So, you know, a lot of the people that might be watching this on my end are likely going to be in real estate, maybe younger entrepreneurs getting into wholesaling, rental properties. It sounds like you had a decent amount of success from 2012 to 2019, but maybe you were just not maximizing your potential. And then 2019, 2020 came around, you had some obstacles. Honestly, I gotta say that from 2020 to 2024, I mean, I met you in 2021, and I honestly think that you've been growing exponentially. Like I've been seeing you on social media, and I've been meeting you at different masterminds. In these 4 years, you know, to somebody that's in real estate, wholesaling, or any entrepreneurial endeavor, like I know you mentioned personal development, and you know you have a couple of mentors. What do you think are some non-negotiables for sure that you've been doing in these last 4 years that have allowed you to blow up exponentially?
Yeah, the first one is going to be a lot of self-development, learning. So there's three different things, right? There's three different types of knowledge that you can have. There's what you know. So if there's a pie, there's a pie, and there's a tiny little slice. That's stuff that you know that you know. Okay. So you know how to wholesale real estate, you know about marketing, you know about sales, you know about KPIs. There's a small piece of what you know you know.
Okay.
Then there's another small piece of what you know you don't know. Okay. So I'll give you an example, Omar. Do you know how to flip an apartment building? Do you know how to wholesale an apartment building?
No.
Okay. So you know that you don't know how to do that, right?
Right.
Okay. So a small piece is what you know you know. Then there's a small piece of what you know you don't know. And then the rest of the pie is what you don't know you don't know.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Okay. So I just opened my mindset to, I'm an idiot. I don't know anything. I
Right.
remove my ego because I don't know anything. I don't know what I don't know. And that's most of the pie. So how
Wow.
much do I have to learn? A lot, right?
Right.
So when you start filling up the pie a little bit and a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, you start gaining confidence and you start doing things different than what you would normally do. And people notice it the way you noticed it on me. So what I started doing is I started filling up my pie. I kept an open mind. I removed my ego. And I started learning, applying. And I started gaining confidence. and people started seeing results in my business, in my actions, in my lifestyle, in the way I walk and talk, and people started noticing it. I didn't
Wow.
do it for I didn't do it for people. I did it for myself and my family.
Right. So you're saying that before that, from 2012 to 2019, you didn't even know at the time, or maybe to you, you didn't know what you didn't know wasn't even a thing. It's like, yeah, like maybe I know what I know, or maybe I think I know it all. And I know that I don't know a few things, but you had some moments where you said, you know what, you became vulnerable and you had an epiphany where it's like, damn, there's a lot out there that I really don't know. Let me just go out there, educate myself, and just figure out this bigger pie of what I don't know that I don't know. And from there, just education, masterminds, trainings. What is like one of the things that you're really big on? You know, is it books, podcasts, mentors? Where do
All of
you
the
really
above.
invest?
All of the above. So
All of the above.
my favorites are I like to do audiobooks when I'm at the gym, and then audiobooks in the morning when I'm working out. I try and work out two times a day. So in the morning, I'm doing cardio, I'm listening to a book, or right now I'm doing the Business Mastery Leadership Program with Brandon Dawson. So those are modules in the morning where he's talking about the different aspects of being a business leader. So I do that in the mornings. And then in the afternoons, right now, I'm listening to B 2.0, Jim Collins. He's a business author, business book author, teaching you about some of the greatest companies in the world and how they operate. So, you know, it's leadership.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm also big on going to 10X events. You know, I've done all the workshops. I go to the 9-figure boardrooms with Brandon Dawson, where they have people like this next one is at the end of June. He's going to have the owner of North Face. You know the brand, right? North Face.
Yeah.
The founder is going to be speaking at the event, and he's going to talk about how he built his company. Well, isn't that good information to know? How the
Really?
owner, how the founder of North Face built his company. So I like to put myself in those rooms. I like to go to all the specialized trainings that I can get. I mean, you just have to get addicted. Like, you know, I like burgers and pizzas, right? We get addicted to butter cakes at Fleming's or butter cakes at Mastro's, right? Well,
Right.
why not get addicted to knowledge?
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
that's really what's done it for me. Just you're never going to be able to fill up the whole pie. It's not going to happen. You could be John Maxwell's the greatest. He's the best-selling author of nonfiction books in the world. He's the #1 leadership author. I learned this from John Maxwell. John Maxwell says he's 77 years old and he's still not done learning how to be a good leader.
Wow.
And he's been doing leadership for 40 years and he's still not even close to where he wants to be. And he's already 77 years old. He says, I will never stop learning as long as I'm alive. Same thing with Charlie Munger and all these you know billionaires.
Right. Yeah, no, we just gotta continue to sharpen the axe every day. And you talked about leadership right there. I just seen you in Cancun a couple of weeks ago, and I was telling you about some of the issues that we were having in our organization. And I remember some of your immediate words was leadership. That's leadership. That's leadership. So, other than leadership, what are like a couple other things that we must focus in our lives to really be successful business owners and just operate at a high frequency? What are if you can sum it up in maybe 3-4 words, leadership being one of them, what are some of the other ones?
Well, leadership is the most important by far. I didn't realize that until the last few years. John Maxwell says everything rises and falls on leadership. And then the
Yeah,
second one
I heard that
is,
one. I like that one.
yeah, and then leadership rises and falls on communication.
Mm.
So aside from leadership,
Wow.
what's the most important thing? Communication.
Wow.
And the
Yeah.
best way to have communication with anyone, this applies to sales. I learned this from Cardone Ventures. I have a sales coach. He's a sales advisor that coaches my team on the sales side. So it's called an AMA model, right? So it's anytime you have a conversation with somebody, This is a key to success right here when you're communicating. So no, the first A is acknowledge. You want to acknowledge what the person told you. Hey, Omar, I understand. I get it. I'm with you. I completely understand where you're coming from. The second one is motivate. Okay, so you acknowledge, then you motivate. Hey, if you had me on your podcast, I think it would have a huge positive impact on your viewers, and I can give them knowledge that they didn't have that would help them with their personal lives and their business, right? And then the third one is ask, what would you think about me being on your podcast next week? So that's the key to communication. It's AMA, acknowledge,
Motivate.
motivate, and ask the question, ask a buying question. Ask them a question that will engage in the action that you desire.
Okay, so give me that example again with the A, because I got the motivation and then the ask, and then how would you acknowledge, like in this example, like if you and I were communicating again?
So we would say acknowledge, right?
Right.
Hey, Omar, I see you have a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
the Omar Lopez Show. It looks amazing. You're doing great work with that.
Okay.
Acknowledge you.
Acknowledge.
Then I'll motivate you. You know, I think that if you were to have me as a guest, I think it could have a huge positive impact, not just on your show, but more so on your viewers. I think that I can provide them information that'll help them in their personal life, and most importantly, in their business life as they're on their journey to success. Now, I'm going to ask you, would you consider me having me on your show next week?
Got it. AMA. Awesome. And then would you say that this is a communication that you implement, like, you know, throughout your entire organization among all your leaders and everything?
Yeah.
Got it.
So you want to acknowledge them if you have a leader who might be struggling, but overall they're a great manager.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hey John, you know, I've been watching what you've been doing this month, and you're doing a great job. I love what you're doing with your team. Okay. I think that you have so much potential to do so much more with just a little bit of guidance. You can get these guys to surpass their target by numbers that you don't even imagine yet. So let me ask you this. Are you willing to invest the time if I give you the resources to do some additional training so we can help your team surpass their targets?
Got it.
You
That's
acknowledge,
right there.
you motivated them, and you ask them.
Awesome. Okay, great. Well, Mike, I guess just so we can start putting a bow on this, what are some of the next big projects or things that you have going on, like maybe in the next 12 months, 24 months? Like what's in the forefront of your mind?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. The first thing that I'm super focused on is getting my collection agency to double their revenue from last year. So last year we did 18.5 million. That means that my target is 37 million this year.
Wow.
We've started off slower than I expected, but right now we're already approaching 10 million for the year. And we're at the end of May, so I'm a little behind schedule, but we have some serious irons in the fire that we think could help us literally double our revenue in the next few months. And another thing that I'm super excited over is Data Skip, my skip tracing company. Kind of the main niche that we've had is real estate investors and wholesalers could pull a list of foreclosures, tax delinquencies, liens, probates, high motivation for sellers to sell. So they pull the list and they send it over to dataskip.io, and we skip trace those phone numbers. We provide them the phone numbers, and then they can contact those people and they can get deals. So what we're doing is we're beefing up our platform to be able to offer property owners pulling data direct from Dataskip, and also being able to do individual searches, because right now we have a 500 record minimum. So if you want to skip trace with Dataskip, you need to have at least 500 records. Well, that's about to change soon. You can literally just put in one person that you're looking for, and we'll be able to provide you with their contact information. This could work if you're looking for a step brother or a long lost rich uncle. You just put their information into data skip and we'll give you their contact information. So
And
those are something that I'm super excited over.
nice, nice. So yeah, where can the viewers get some of that skip tracing if they wanted to? Dataskip.io.
Just go to dataskip.io, use coupon code Mike's Client, and instead of paying 15 cents per hit per input, the normal price you'll pay 8 cents. So it's almost 50%, 47% off.
Mike's Client, MikeSclient.
Yep, you got it. Mike's Client.
Good, good, good. Well, Mike, I appreciate you jumping on here. Where can people find you on social media? Where can they follow you?
Yeah, the most active place where I'm at personally is Instagram. So it's FKN Michael Martinez, FKN Michael Martinez. They can also find my content on TikTok and YouTube, but I personally respond to everybody on Instagram. So if you want to connect with me directly personally, that'll be on Instagram.
Awesome, awesome. And I guess, just to give some inspiration, some motivation for anybody else that's watching out there, in a couple of words, if there's a young entrepreneur that used to be like in your position back in 2012, what can you tell them? What can you say to inspire them to go out there and take action?
I mean, I'll give you one of the biggest secrets in business that is so obvious. It's so common sense, but nobody does it, is set targets and set goals. Set targets and set goals. And never lower your target, increase your action. So if you set a target for $1 million this year and you're falling short of your target, don't lower your target. Increase your action to get to.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. Guys, you heard it from Mike Martinez himself. Set targets. Don't decrease your targets, increase your action. I mean, this guy right here, I met him, what was it, 2 years ago, or right around there, or 3 years ago? No, like around 2 years ago. And this guy has been an inspiration. He's the example of a true entrepreneur. Go give Mike a follow on Instagram, on TikTok, whatever it is. But tune in, watch his content, because, by watching his content alone, you're going to get inspired. This guy is the real deal right here.
Thanks, Omar. I appreciate you, man. God bless, and go out and crush it this year, bro. We'll see you soon.
You got it, Mike. Thank you.
Later.